Ah yes, here we are on the 10th of August 2019 in the polytunnel. So what am I doing here? Well, I'm doing something relatively economical with some leftover compost from previous projects. Now, quite often at this time of year, you have got your space, growing space, occupied by things, maybe such as like myself. I've got some runner beans and squashes in the ground. I'm currently reaping the crop from the runner beans and awaiting the squash crop. So that ground currently is unavailable, if you will, for new things. So what I'm doing is utilising the compost growing medium I've got left. So I'll show you what you will need for this, or indeed one of my approaches. So many of my long-term viewers know that I do indeed very much like having plug plants, I say plug plants, plug vegetables, whatever, ready to put in case of things like failed projects like my melon project earlier in the year, crop failures, or indeed if space does, come available where which you weren't expecting, or maybe even to do swapsies with other gardeners. So what I've got here is some beetroot boltardy down here, and I've got some, I think it is Swiss chard, I think it's Ford Hook Giant chard down there as well, you see there. So I planted these, the seeds probably about, might even be like 6 weeks, 2 months ago now, maybe even longer, but they get stunted in these small pots, but they're like crops in waiting, which I do indeed like to have. And when I have my crops in waiting, I like to have them sort of, reliable crops. So things like kale would be good, chard is good, spinach is good, things like that, just stuff that's hardy in the UK climate, and you can more or less, there's no guarantees really, but more or less sort of it's likely you're going to get a good crop from them. For example, when the melon crop failed, melons are sort of how do one describe it, come or go here in the UK, but something like what I described earlier is relatively reliable, so that's what I like to have. So what you'll need for this is your growing medium down here, so that's the compost there. So what have we got? There you go, you see what we've got there. I've got a little hand trail, and I've got a nice, fairly decent sized container with some some holes drilled in the bottom. Right, so let's see if I can try and do this one-handed. Goodness gracious me, come on. Nah, ain't happening. Right, so that's one lot of compost in, and actually this is quite nutritious looking sort of compost here. I was given a load of, I was given a load of compost by someone earlier in the year, and it was very good quality stuff. I think it was things like, composted vegetables and stuff, but I've used that to grow some runner beans in, things like that. So that's that one in there. So basically what I'm doing, you can see, from where this old compost was, it really had some stuff growing in it, like that. And what I'm going to do is just spend a bit of time breaking it up. And, as I stated earlier, this is not what I would describe as a major project like so many other things that one can do in the garden. It's simply a way of utilising, leftover containers, leftover compost, leftover plants, and a way of getting yourself a crop in the process. So I found a few other little containers of just old compost and stuff in there like that. I mean, another thing I've done before with old compost is saved it for the following year, and I've used it to sow things like potato, seed potatoes, things that aren't too specific. It's just very good to learn, economics of gardening, really. I hope I'm not upside down. So I'm just going to get a little bit of water on the container like that, in the container. I'm just trying to get the camera. I wonder if you can see me. I hope you can. So let's start with these here. There you go. Looks okay, don't it? So what I'm going to do is just proceed to plant out into here like this. I'll put the camera here in a minute so you can see just what I'm doing. Another one there, look, good root structures. You want to leave them about, you want a good sort of 6 inches between the plants. And you can go closer really. It all depends on what, you know, if you want to just use up your plants, and you know, it's just a great way of another one like that. And that one there, look. And it's, you can hear that wind blowing stuff about outside. And then what you do, get a few more like that. Put them in. So you just get your like that. Right, just don't want to get mud all over my lovely new newish camera. Now, what's going on? Right, there you go. So that's, you can see what I've done there. So basically I've just planted them out into that container. Now probably give it something like you know, about a month or so, and they'll be a decent size because it's still relatively warm temperatures, and you know, plenty of growing can go ahead. And I'll probably leave it inside in the polytunnel so that, you know, pigeons or whatever don't come and eat the eat the leaves. So there you go. So that's one thing you could do to utilise sort of leftover compost, or indeed you could even grow something in a container like that anyway as a thing for yourself. Okay then, I hope you enjoyed that, and if you like my work, please feel free to like, share and subscribe, and I will see you next time.